But our first contestant, get ready, JaMarr Johnson. Through the fire. Through the fire, JaMarr Johnson.
Life can sometimes feel as if you're walking through fire. It is the fires that we go through in our lives that can give us the strength to make us stronger, to help someone else in need, and change our lives and the course of their lives forever. Has there been a time in your life when you were burning inside with anger, with sadness, or sorrow? When I was faced with those challenges in my life, at first I thought that I could run from the fire. But you can't outrun fire. Not when it's on you. Not when it's in you. Madam Contest Chair, fellow firewalkers, at 3 years old, my mother, brother, and I were abandoned by my father, who came back from the Vietnam War addicted to drugs. By the age of 5, my mother, alone, scared, with 2 children, went looking for love in all of the wrong places. She too found herself addicted to drugs. It was at that time that I was home alone with my brother, and he grew hungry. So I decided that I would make biscuits in the oven just like I had watched my mother do many times before. The only difference was this time I had not learned that before I reach into the oven, that my hand, it should be covered. I burned my hand so bad. And all my brother could ask was, JaMarr, did the biscuits turn out okay? The biscuits turned out fine. They were brown just like the bottom of my hand and the picture on the box. Soon thereafter, a social worker named Miss Denise came by to ask me a very important question. And I knew that this question would change the fate in the course of my life. But at 5 years old, I had the wherewithal and I had the purpose to know that I had to tell her the truth. Miss Denise, my mother needs help. Can you help her, please? And away we went. We were whisked away to live with my grandmother. Now, my grandmother was an excellent cook, kept a clean house, and was a staunch disciplinarian. But unfortunately, her best friend was Mr. Bud Weiser. The next several years grew very challenging. My mother would call every now and then, but she was mostly absent. It was at the age of 9 that she called with news that would blast right through my soul. Sonna, yes, Ma? I have bad news. What? Your dad, he's never gonna see you again. Why not? Because he's been killed. I'm sorry, son. Ma, when are you coming to get us? Soon, son. I promise I'm coming soon. Soon wouldn't be for another 2 years. And that taught me a lot about patience. But fortunately enough, at the age of 11, my mother got clean enough to now have her 4 children and her new husband move into an apartment on the Upper East Side of Harlem. But that year seemed to move in slow motion as my mother and my stepfather relapsed together in drug use. And I, at the age of 11, had to become the man of the house. Pretty soon, all of my siblings were spread around the city with various family members. There was just her and I. And through the grace of God, my mother decided that she was going to surrender to God and surrender to her addiction. She worked on getting clean. And I'm proud to say, as I stand before you, that my mother is going on 27 years clean of her addictions. And that taught me about perseverance. Unfortunately, though, The fires that grew inside me, that started with hurt, that turned into anger, burned. At the age of 15, I found myself conducting reckless activities. I was doing the wrong things with the wrong people in the wrong places, and on one fateful night, an acquaintance of mine got into an altercation with a homeless man, and I tried to stop him. A commotion was caused. Police was called, and I took him by the shirt, and I grabbed him, and we ran, and we jumped on top of a rooftop, and we stood there, and I looked down at myself, and I asked myself, how did I get myself here? Thinking back at all that my mother had overcome for us to be together, I decided that I need to turn a new leaf, and I need to do it now. I climbed down from that roof, and I went home. But that plan was cut short. A police car pulled up. Officers jumped out, guns drawn. You would have thought that I was in church because my hands were in the air as if I was praising God. Please don't shoot, please don't shoot. The officers arrested me and a few other people. And I spent the night in jail. And I was afraid for my life, but not from any of the inmates. No. I was afraid of my mother, who I was positive would be the judge, jury, and the executioner in the morning. The next morning came, and my mother didn't come to get me. It was my uncle. And my uncle told me, "You're in trouble." And before he could finish his next sentence, my mother came around the corner as if she was Darth Vader, breathing hard. "JaMarr, Wayne, get that boy out of my face before I kill him." I spent the next 30 days of my life on butler duty for the entire family. And that taught me a lot about perspective. I managed to change my perception of everything that I had been through in my life, to flip it, to make it positive. And now every fire that burned that made me angry before, I use it to fuel my passion. Thanks to those lessons, I'm proud to say that I managed to become the valedictorian of my high school. I joined the Marine Corps and eventually the Navy and earned my bachelor's and even my master's degree. And through all of that fire, what I've learned is that we wrap ourselves in a blanket of purpose, patience, perseverance, perception, and persistence, we too can walk safely through the fire. Contest chair.
Timers, please give me 1 minute of silence.